Now call this April meeting of Glendale Village Council to order. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Madam Clerk, I'd like to first establish that there is a quorum.
I confirm the presence of a quorum.
And for the folks in the audience there, could we please have quiet while we conduct the meeting? Thank you. There's been an agenda distributed, and everyone has seen that. So is there approval of the agenda from council?
Yes. So moved. Yes.
Okay. What we'll do first, this is a little different from our normal council meeting. We're actually going to start with a hearing. And this is a hearing related to a verbal resolution concerning the application for conditional use approval of the property at 42 Washington Avenue as a club as defined by the Glendale Codified Ordinances 154.21B10. For those who are not familiar with 42 Washington Avenue, this is the former Eckstein School. So to go into this, this will be viewed by council this evening, reviewed and possibly approved. This has already been approved by planning in their meeting this evening, a conditional use for this property. Council's decision tonight will be a final determination by council. There'll be formal written follow-up after this, but what we decide tonight will be a final decision. I'd like to start with the review of the GPHPC, our Glendale Planning Commission's deliberation and decision. David Lumsden also has a staff report, and we also have the GPHPC resolution available. So I'd like for our administrator, David Lumsden, to go through everything that's transpired to this point. And as he finishes up, if council has any questions for David, we can do that. So David, will you give us the rundown?
Thank you, Mayor. The application was submitted in late January and was reviewed by the Planning Commission at its February 3rd meeting. At that meeting, I'll move very quickly through their decision and then review my staff report very briefly. The Planning Commission recommended to council for approval with 3 conditions. The first, that the use of any part of the property as a daycare would not be included or permitted as part of the conditional use. Second, that the consultation and satisfactory opinion of the village's engineer regarding traffic would be obtained. And third, that all improvements to the property would receive applicable zoning and historic appropriateness review and approval. Based on the conversations at the Planning Commission, those 3 conditions were satisfactory to the applicant, and all 3 have been met as of the date of this meeting right now. So to review the staff report very quickly, the conditional use section of our village code limits the review of conditional uses to 3 criteria: effect on neighborhood, conformance with the village's plan, and effect on traffic. Reviewing the application against those 3 criteria, it's very clear that this is in the village administrator's opinion, a compatible conditional use. The effect on neighborhood would of course be drastic because the condition of the building would be significantly improved, and it would give good use to a structure that is currently empty and deteriorating. Conformance with the village plan. The 2000 comprehensive village plan provides a number of opportunities to increase arts, education, and social activities, as well as, of course, the maintenance of key institutional historic buildings. So that is very in conformance with the village's plan. Then finally, effect on traffic. The applicants were very thorough in the amount of traffic data that they provided to the village. That was provided then to Kleinger's, the village's engineer, who reviewed it and believed that the proposed use would not have a significant negative effect on traffic in the village. So, Planning Commission, as a result of those considerations, reviewed and discussed the application, and then ultimately recommended for approval with the 3 conditions I listed. This evening's Planning Commission meeting, they passed a resolution approving that decision, or codifying in a sense that decision, and now it is being presented to council this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Does anyone have any questions for David about the process, or where planning, what their process was? Okay.
I do have one question. I'm curious about the daycare piece and that not being considered appropriate. Could you?
I will defer to the applicant, and they're going to speak next, but they can flesh out. But it was included in an early version of the design. It was not intended for use.
Yeah. Moreover, when we submitted the blueprints or the layout of the interior remodel, we had one room still labeled as quote unquote a daycare room, but we quickly changed that. There was no plan of any daycare being in the building. It was kind of just, we missed it when we originally submitted it, we updated it and took it off, so there will be no daycare at all.
Okay. Very good. So, any other questions from council for David at this point? So what we'd like to do is we would like, if the applicant would like to do this, an opportunity to address council. I think council has seen this plan. It was circulated in all of our materials for the meeting. But if the applicant would like to make any comments at this time, please feel free to do so. And if you do, please identify yourself when you come up.
I'll start. Thank you guys for having me tonight. I'm Ted Karras, center for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I found out about this story on the local news. We had lost to KC in week 2, and I was fired up walking around my house. I never have the news on, and obviously the Monday night game had ended, and Mr. Parrish is on the news, and I thought, wow, this guy is really a guy going out trying to do some good, and someone came in and messed him up. Obviously that was the vandalism pre-October, or early, this past fall, and I just couldn't abide by that. I felt very compelled to help this man in his mission any way I could, and then I find out that this is such a deep and important part of Cincinnati's vibrant history, and he's trying to bring this history back and put it to good use and really refresh this community, especially this old building that has so much potential. And we brought out, I put the word out to my friends and people who follow me around town. We brought out about 150 people, cleared the whole property up, took a day's work. About 10 of us got poison ivy, but we got that thing. We got that parking lot cleared and that property ready to go. So I'm here to throw my support behind the ECAC and Mr. Parrish and help any way that I can.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the applicant?
I'm Zach Douglas. I'm principal and managing partner of Paradigm Construction. So we've been the general contractor or developer, kind of helping push this through for Bill and the ECAC. And I just want to touch on a few things. First things first, the interior model, the exterior model, we're working with, very renowned architects and interior designers, already have them signed up, willing to kind of donate their time, to invest their time and their talents to upgrade this building and kind of bring it back to the standards of what it should be. And then on top of that as well, Bill and the team has showed me an extensive capital campaign that they've already have prepared. They have a silent period of funding of almost $2 million already committed. So it'd be up to a $5 million capital campaign of, extreme amount of, wealth and giving of people looking to invest, in the village of Glendale. And we really want this to be, a shining star and something that can be really cool, and just something that, other cities and villages can look upon as, something that can be a true example of how things should be and how things should work, and, reviving old buildings and historically kind of shied away from, or people have looked upon and kind of passed by, and can bring something back to life and kind of benefit children and what this use of this building was intentionally to be as a school, and educate and kind of bring a good spot for the youth to kind of congregate and learn and develop their talents. So we're super excited to be a part of the project. So thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Okay. Anyone else from the applicants, or we'll open it to public comment? So, seeing the number of people here and the number of people that might wish to speak about Eckstein School, if anyone from the public would like to speak, we'll make it 2 minutes, David. And if someone has already said something, if you want to just stand up and say, I agree with them versus repeat. But is there anyone from the public that would like to address this particular application? And don't have to if you don't want to. Okay, very good. Let's, at this point, close the public hearing portion. I think we're familiar with this application. The two applicants that spoke added some texture to it. And I'd like for council to now consider, we'll go into council deliberations. Two things here. One is, amongst yourselves, what do you think about the application? Also, if you have specific questions for the applicant, you can ask them at this time as well. None, okay.
Questions?
And no questions, okay. So, we'll ask now at this time, is there a motion to approve the application as submitted? Approve the conditions and the list of conditions David already read. Could you read those again, please?
Certainly the use of any part of the property as a daycare would not be permitted. And then that the traffic condition has already been satisfied, so I don't know that there's, Kathy, I don't know what inclusion that would need.
Just read it just to have it.
Okay.
record and
Maintain a satisfactory opinion of the village's engineer regarding traffic, and that all improvements receive applicable zoning and historic appropriateness approval.
Okay, so is there a motion for this verbal resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second. And is there a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, very good. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
For the verbal resolution to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko,
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler,
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge,
Aye.
Ms. Fleury,
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For the verbal resolution, Ms. Masenko,
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler,
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge,
Aye.
Ms. Fleury,
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and congratulations to the Eckstein team. Very good. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
We will now move on with the rest of our
Thank you,
meeting.
guys. Stay in touch.
Okay, we'll wait for the room to clear. Okay, so moving on, let's go back to our regular meeting, or go into our regular meeting. So approval of minutes. March 3rd minutes were circulated to council. And is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I would like to suggest one friendly amendment,
Okay.
and that is the birth, February 20th birth of Chase Albert Miller to Clay and Megan Miller. If we could
That's right.
add that in.
That's right, let's put that in. Okay, any other changes? All right, so is there a motion then to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good. Okay, next item on the agenda is a proclamation celebrating the 110th anniversary of the founding of the Glendale Garden Club, celebrating its members, past and present, and celebrating its maintenance and beautification of Rogan Park for the enjoyment of all the village of Glendale. So I will read this proclamation. Whereas the Glendale Garden Club, founded in 1915, is the first garden club in Glendale and among the oldest garden clubs in Cincinnati, and one of the founding members of the Federated Garden Clubs of Cincinnati and vicinity, and whereas the Glendale Garden Club, with heartfelt appreciation, honors all members, past and present, as the proud caretakers of Rogan Park, And whereas Rogan Park, located adjacent to the village square, is home to the magnificent Proctor Fountain and the inviting gazebo offering shaded seating and a place to rejuvenate in one of Glendale's most lovely parks. And whereas members of the Glendale Garden Club enjoy camaraderie within its numerous club and civic offerings. And whereas the Glendale Garden Club proudly supports the efforts of the Glendale Urban Forestry Board in maintaining Glendale's recognition as a Tree City USA. And whereas the Glendale Garden Club proudly continues its founding objectives to stimulate the knowledge and love of gardening among amateurs, to share the advantages of association through conference and correspondence in this country and abroad, to aid the protection of native birds and plants, and to encourage civic planting. Now therefore be proclaimed that the Mayor and Council of the Village of Glendale, Ohio do hereby recognize and celebrate the 110th anniversary of the founding of the Glendale Garden Club. Be it further proclaimed that the Mayor and the Council of the Village of Glendale, Ohio call upon the people of the Village of Glendale to celebrate the Glendale Garden Club for 110 years of volunteer service in the Village of Glendale, its dedicated membership, past and present, and its maintenance and beautification of Rogan Park for all to enjoy. Signed, the Mayor and all of Council. So can I have a representative come up? Ceremoniously with our congratulations and heartfelt thanks. And the two laggards who haven't signed it will sign it. So we'll let you know Jeff's out of town, but we'll let you know when Jeff's back in town. You can pick up these formal copies.
Thank you, and on behalf of all of the members of the Glendale Garden Club, thank you. Thank you.
And now, moving on, I would like to pull forward bear with me a second. I would like to pull forward the appointment of firefighters and police officers. So let us move to ordinance 2025-16. An ordinance confirming the appointment of Glendale volunteer firefighters, establishing a one-year probationary period, and declaring an emergency. Assistant Chief Lerman, could you tell us a little bit about these two candidates?
Sure can. Thank you, Mayor. First, I'll introduce Charles Solomon. Charles comes to us with 12 years' experience. He's currently certified as a firefighter, EMT, and fire inspector. Charles currently works for the Village of Lockland and City of Wyoming Fire Departments, and also has a long history with the Lincoln Heights Fire Department and the City of Fairfield. So we're happy to have him, and with his experience, he'll hit the ground running and be a very good asset for us. The next that I want to introduce to you is Miss Elena Roberts. She comes to us with 6 months fire experience. She just passed her Firefighter 1 state test a few months ago and is working to complete her EMT here in the next couple weeks. So hopefully we'll get her passed on that as well. So we're happy to have both of them. So that's the two that we have tonight. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
And is there a motion to dispense with three reads?
So moved. Second.
So Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Absolutely. For ordinance 2025-16, to dispense with the three reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2025-16, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, would the candidates please come into the center here and we'll swear you in. Okay, stand right there, that's perfect. Okay, so raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Charles Holmes,
Do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the role of volunteer firefighter for the Village of Glendale.
the role of volunteer firefighter.
It's a big one, so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. And welcome.
That was smart.
What if they get
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard. Congratulations.
Okay, and then the next one is ordinance 2025-17. And I think we have two officers, we can do them separately, right?
We're waiting on physicals.
Okay.
And then they'll get sworn in your office.
Okay, they'll be sworn in the office. So, well, let's just continue with that. Let's get this done while we've got it in front of us. An ordinance confirming the appointment of Randall Newsom to the position of full-time police officer with Village of Glendale, Ohio Police Department, establishing compensation and declaring an emergency. Would you tell us about this candidate?
He comes retired out of Kentucky with over 30 years experience. He currently serves as the chief of police for the Village of Elmwood. He is looking to go elsewhere, so he chose us. Great fit for us. He's familiar with Hamilton County and the way that we proceed, and we're looking forward to adding him full-time. It'll be our first full-time hire in many, many years.
Okay,
To expand the department.
great. Thank you, Chief Keast. So is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a motion to dispense with three readings?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
For ordinance 2025-17, to dispense with the three reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2025-17, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That ordinance passes. Next is an ordinance confirming the appointment of Jay Manning to the position of part-time police officer with the Village of Glendale, Ohio Police Department, establishing compensation and declaring an emergency. Chief Keys, could you tell us about this candidate?
He also has more than 30 years experience, most recently retired out of North College Hill, so again, a great asset having someone that's familiar with Hamilton County, and currently works part-time for Owensville Police Department out east, and he will be ceasing employment there to come join the Glendale Police Department.
Okay, very good. Is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
And a motion to dispense with three reads?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
For ordinance 2025-18, to dispense with the three reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2025-18, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good, that ordinance passes. Okay, going back now to public comment, we normally like to get the swearing in done because normally people are here, and we'd like to move that along. But at this point, let's go back to public comment. One of our residents, Tom Benjamin, is requested to speak about the Princeton School Levy Board, school levy coming up in May. So, Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. All thank you for letting me address you this evening about this crucial issue. In November, as you probably know, the Princeton School District attempted to pass a tax levy, and sadly, it was unsuccessful by about a mere 700 votes. However, since that time, the district learned of not one but two devastating and very much unanticipated decreases to the revenue stream, putting it at a crossroads. The first was a decrease in the public utility personal property valuations from Duke Energy. Notified in mid-December, effective January 1st of this year, this reevaluation would cost Princeton $800,000, and in the next fiscal year, it would be $1.6 million. The second was from the state of Ohio itself. After many years of unconstitutional school funding formulas, they had recently come to a relatively fair and equitable agreement that was to be instituted in 3 phases. As of 2024, 2 of those 3 phases had been funded, and as you probably guessed, the 3rd phase is probably not going to happen, putting Princeton and other public schools into a financial crisis. In fact, Ohio's budget for public school funding will most likely decrease between $100 to $550 million while increases are being made to private school funding. The Princeton School District is unlike any other district in the state of Ohio. It encompasses 4 villages, 2 cities, and welcomes with open arms students from approximately 40 different countries. It's easy to be impressed by Princeton's outstanding academics, accomplishments, its powerful athletics, which by the way are on fire right now, its concentration on work placement for those who do not wish to go attend college, its amazing academic courses such as Advanced Placement, College Credit Plus, and International Baccalaureate. By the way, Princeton was the very first school in Ohio to offer International Baccalaureate. And of course, its award-winning music programs, which have a very deep roots here in the village. The legendary Matthews Auditorium, where our students perform, is named after the revered Matthews family from here in Glendale. But it's the things you don't see that are truly more impressive, and we call them the Princeton Advantage. The Princeton Advantage means something different to every student at Princeton, and rightfully so. Part of it is how our kids are prepared for the world. They've seen the good and the bad, and they've experienced the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, such as the recent Nazi demonstrations in our district. But the Princeton Advantage, however, has made them resilient and skilled in how to handle these situations because they're Vikings. They now know that the world, while beautiful, can sometimes be ugly. It's knowing that every student that walked across the stage at graduation is truly prepared to go out and take on the world with confidence. I'm honored to share the title of Viking with them as well as my 3 children. However, all of that and more is in real jeopardy if this levity does not pass. Just as Princeton has reached one of its best report cards ever, devastating cuts to academics, music, arts, athletics, as well as probably closing at least 1, if not 2 of the elementary school buildings is inevitable. Common sense would put Glendale Elementary very high on that building list to close. That's why I'm hoping that you will support Princeton Schools as a council and certainly as voters on May 6th by voting yes. Go Vikes.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Is there anyone else that wishes to address council?
Yeah.
Mr. Parrish. I met another one of your brothers tonight.
I have 10 of us, 10 boys and 7 girls, so you've only just started. Kevin Parrish at 176 Washington Avenue. First of all, I'd like to start this conversation off with thanking the village solicitor for getting this council together to legally inform her of what her job duty is, and that's to clarify what your jobs are and what your requirements in sitting in these positions are. I did attend a retreat briefly, but it didn't seem like many residents were interested in what you had to say because it was a very low attendance. That should tell you something about what's going on with the relationship of this council with residents. But because you've been advised, then there will not be so many misinterpretations of when I address this council, since your solicitor, which is your legal advisor, has clarified what your positions are and what your responsibility are to this community and to me. You are our employees. You work for us. These are voted in positions. And you think that you have more power than what you have. Are you aware that to remove council members, the only thing you have to start is a petition to get 300 signatures to even start to remove you because of your actions being unacceptable? Most residents don't know that. I make it a point to make sure that I research whatever I'm going to speak on to be accurate, so that I can forward that information to people that's listening outside of this community. And I understand why it was necessary for you to have that counsel and for the solicitor to clarify your job responsibilities. A lot of people think that what I do is ranting. I'm not ranting, I'm informing. But because I'm a black resident, it's hard for residents in this community to accept what I'm saying is truth. That's their problem. The truth is still going to be the truth, and The truth has always been a slow developing, acceptable thing. I had some questions for you guys. I've been asking about the CMOM reports that you put in every month that was related to the DEFA loan that we had for about 3 years. I've asked, when can we see these reports? That's the question to this council. When can we see the CMOM reports that are public records, that you send a report in to see what progress you have made in the plan that you came up to get this loan money? Second question I have for this council is, when will the Streets Committee address the issue of safety? You put a speed bump on Washington just after Cole that was never completed, and yet that was acceptable? A safety device. After I've come here 3 years and inquired why haven't they finished this, I got no response. So today at this council meeting, I'll ask, when can we get a response to the safety device that was put on Washington Avenue that was not completed?
You have about a minute.
And just give us an answer. Third question I have is, have we reached the goal of what the DEFA loan was for? And that the CMOM reports gives updates of its progress or completion. When can residents expect to be able to view this public information? I think that's enough for this session. I'll see you guys next month at the next council session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Next, we'll go to reports from the mayor, village administrator, standing committees, treasurer. So, mayor's report today, there were no births reported. There were 2 deaths. One was Jenny Gulick, passed away March 14 at the age of 64. And the other was John Conyers. John passed away March 21. He was the son of David and Donna Conyers, who are still residents here. Then one non-resident, but someone who was certainly a big part of our village, was Stephen Patrick Cordes, or Steve Cordes as we all knew him. Steve was a longtime Glendale police officer, passed away March 4th at the age of 76. So for these people, can we please have a moment of silence? May they rest in peace. As far as other things going on in the village, the First Presbyterian Church will host their annual pancake breakfast on Saturday, this Saturday the 12th, 8:30 to 11:30. Also, at the First Presbyterian Church, I understand there is a group calling themselves the Squirrely Stitchers, and they meet every every first and third Monday at the church from 1 to 3 p.m. So if you're interested in knitting, crocheting, or quilting, that's a place to be. The Glendale Community Volunteer Day is set for April 26th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thanks to Bev Rickoff and Cindy Taylor for setting that up. It's always something that's well attended, so everyone come out and please join in with that. And then finally, news from Glendale Elementary. This is rather unique. Glendale Elementary has been nominated for Hall of Fame recognition by the Ohio Association of Elementary School Administrators. It's a very high honor. They are awaiting a final decision, but they've already had the visit from the Ohio administrators, and they have submitted a lot of information about why they are deserving of this honor. They'll find out soon, but I just thought that that was worth mentioning today something else that we talked to their principal about is that Tim Walker. And I have it here, so why I tested you, I don't know. Tim Walker was in discussion with us. Win or not, the honor is tremendous enough. We're going to have some of their administration and some of their kids marching on Memorial Day parade. So they'd like to find a way to celebrate it, and we thought that was a great way for them to be able to celebrate in front of a good part of the village. So let's see, other than that, I think, David, you're covering some of the street repair that's going on, so that's it for Mayor's report. David, would you give us your report?
Thank you, Mayor. Utility bills have been mailed out, due on April 25th. The brush and leaf collection has started for the season. We're currently collecting leaves that started on the 31st, and that will run until the 14th, which is the final day for collection. Brush collection will start on the 21st. The new truck has already been incredibly helpful in collecting significantly more leaves in a single trip than we were before, so that's very, very good. The water main replacement project is underway. They will be tapping into Sharon's water main. I believe they're starting tomorrow, so they're going to be quite a bit of equipment out here at the intersection and a lot of work going on. They will be moving then to pressure test the new main and sanitize it so that it can be connected to individual residences, and residents will be notified directly when those connections are being made. And then finally, the strategic plan, I'll get to the streets thing after this. Finally, the strategic plan, we still are open on public comment. That'll be open until the 21st of this month. So please encourage neighbors to review the plan and make any comments and submit them to the village. And then on tonight's agenda, you'll see two ordinances, one appropriating funds and then the other authorizing contract for the repaving of Albion and Short Albion and Osprey following the water main replacement this summer. So work will begin after the new water main is in the ground, which is very much scheduled for early summer this year. The additional paving projects, we talked about this at the Streets Committee meeting. We're investigating funding opportunities for those, and more information will be available near the end of the month, and we'll have a Streets Committee meeting to discuss that. But unless there are any questions, that is my report.
I got a question.
Yes.
Have you seen any public comment yet on the strat plan?
I have read through a few of them.
So there has been.
Yes, there. Last I checked, we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30.
Oh, good.
Yes. So.
Okay.
That's good.
Yes. Very helpful to get that information.
Okay. All right. Next then are the committee reports. Madam Clerk, would you call those, please?
Absolutely. Finance Committee, please.
The Finance Committee did meet last Wednesday, and it was an hour-and-a-half meeting or so. Susan McCormick kicked it off. She's the new chair of the Glendale Legacy Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit and nonpartisan foundation whose mission, I believe I have this correct, is to improve the health, safety, and quality of life for Glendale. And Councilmember Verchot's going to be on the board and act as kind of a liaison for council. And the primary goal of this foundation is to raise money for the village infrastructure and capital projects. And then we talked about the finance director, also known as a fiscal officer, and we're going to get into that a little later tonight. And we reviewed the early projections of the 2026 budget. I saw a quick spreadsheet for that. And then we talked about the streets, which David just mentioned, and we will, I will email all of you tomorrow to see how we look, because we're going to need to have a finance meeting in early May to go over that and some other things. And since I'm in charge of finance, Scott, if you wouldn't mind, I think someone left a door open, and I think the heat's also on, so hate to blow money tonight.
Hey, Scott, I think the air is on from earlier.
And we don't need the air on now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not your.
Let's just turn the system.
Air.
Yeah.
Sort him off.
I might need the heat on. I might need the heat on with it going down to 25, David. We don't want to freeze anything.
It's a tad chilly back here.
It was hot when we started.
Well, yeah, we have a lot of bodies in here. Okay, thank you, Will.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you. Fire Committee, please.
Fire Committee did not meet during the month, but we have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 4. The agenda is going to cover continuing business items, grant updates, of course, fire truck update, and some new business, including the annual report, workforce retention, and a couple of other things. But other than that, we're all together here, and we'll meet tomorrow. I turn it over to Assistant Chief Lehrman.
Thank you. Busy month for us this past month. I'll just kind of review a couple of the highlights. 3 of our firefighters completed their Firefighter 2 training, and they passed that successfully. We had 2 separate mutual aid trainings this past month. One of them included live fire operations, and the other one was how to manage a mayday. We did that with our mutual aid departments. We had 5 new folks complete their blue card training. We're now at 50% of the department that has that, so we're pretty excited for that. On March 15th, we conducted a community CPR and AED training for 10 village residents. So a good turnout. They were happy with that. Chief will be emailing you his monthly report. Should have that in the next day or 2. And then just a reminder again, I know Nancy mentioned it, but on Saturday is our GFD 101.2 from 9 to noon. So we have a really good jam-packed session for you, so I'd love to see you all there. And just last little note, since last month was Women's History Month, since we sworn a new firefighter, I'm happy to report that 25% of our roster makeup is now females, and that's something that we haven't had in a long time. And these are strong females. These are females that any one of our male firefighters would be happy to go to battle with to fight a fire. So,
Any certified EMT?
They are.
Oh,
Yep.
that's fabulous.
Yep. Well, as soon as Lena completes hers, they'll all be firefighter
That's
EMT
fantastic.
certified. So.
That's fantastic.
Yep. So just a little note there to plug that. So, no other questions or comments, and I'm finished. Thank you.
Hey, Becky, I forgot to turn it over to the chief, Chief Keast, on the police.
Well, you're not
We-
there yet.
we're not there yet.
That was fine.
That was fine.
We're only down to L. Yeah,
That's
we're
what I
fast,
get
we're
for-
not that fast.
You're off your game a little bit.
His wife's got you all flustered.
It's a little chilly back here.
Laws and claims, please.
By way of update, the proposed amendments to our zoning code section 15455 relating to harboring of chickens was discussed at the planning committee meeting earlier tonight. Recall that last month, I think did they have a quorum? I think it did not get discussed last month. This month it was discussed, but it was put on hold until next month to check on a particular part of the amendment, which had to do with the height of the chicken run. And so there were also some questions from public comment. You know, this is a very important issue to a lot of residents. So there was still discussion about it even tonight. So, and we will be meeting, the Laws and Claims Committee will be meeting in April. We continue to move forward on our pods issue and our pods and construction dumpster issues. We will be revisiting the progress made by NIC, our enforcement officer, and like issues. So that's my report.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation, please.
We did not meet this month. We're meeting next Monday, the 14th. But the spring sports season's underway, and fortunately, the second weekend of games was by and large rained out. So there will be some rescheduled games.
Thank you. Police Committee, please.
My microphone has been turned off. The police did not meet last month, and here's the chief. Take 2.
This last month, good news, we were fairly low on crime. We did have one theft. It was theft from the village, from the gravel that is stored at Washington Park. Someone stole approximately 2 tons of it. We did have 2 fairly major incidents, one involving the shooting up on 75 by Laughlin Police. One of our officers was there. He attempted to perform CPR on the subject. Also, there was a dog that was shot in Lincoln Heights. Our officer was there for it. She contacted Doggy Depot. The owner came down, got the dog, paid for all the medical bills. I attempted to contact her today to find out the condition of the dog. I was unable to do that. We did have Sergeant Williford attended his first of 3 FBI leadership classes 2 weeks ago. He will be attending the second one next month. He has to complete all 3 of them. Our department is what they call trilogy certified. Any sergeant, lieutenant, chief, any ranking officer has to complete all 3 of them to keep that status with our department. And one announcement, Lieutenant Barber is going to be hosting a scam presentation on Monday, April 28th at 6 p.m. in the town hall upstairs or the fire training room if a smaller number RSVP. He's asking that everyone RSVP. By emailing him, I'm going to send this to David to get out in the weekly newsletter. And that's all I have.
Quick one, Chief. With the additional officer that will get sworn in, I guess a full-time, part-time, will you be at a full complement in terms of what you had discussed previously?
Yes, we will, I would say 90% of the time we will have 2 officers on all the time now. There may be an occasional 3 or 4 hour gap where we don't, but we will. With the part-timer that started, he just wants to be a fill-in. When we need a second officer, he'll come in and be that second officer.
So you'll have 8 and 2 then?
We'll have 8 and 3.
Okay.
I can give an update on that dog.
Oh, okay.
The dog's doing great. It miraculously survived being shot in the head. And it had 8 darling puppies,
Oh.
which the SPCA took all of them, and I think they'll easily be adopted.
All right. Good. Very good news. Okay.
Thank you. Public Buildings and Historic Preservation, please.
We did not meet in March. We have a meeting this Thursday in the village office. That's April 10th, and it will be at 2:30 in the afternoon. That's it.
Great.
Thank you. Streets, Public Improvements, and Lights.
We did meet on the 26th. It was a long meeting, lots of things covered. The draft minutes are available on the website now. As far as Mr. Parrish's comment, we did have discussion on ongoing considerations about traffic calming strategies over and above the great job that we know the police are doing with enforcing speed. But that's something that I believe the village engineers are going to be consulted about, because that's something we really need good data to support appropriateness. Also, the question on the speed bump on Washington, I haven't discussed that in a long time, but my understanding was that there was an interest in not having it span the entire width of the street due to parking in that on one side of the street, and that being helpful. Is that how I understand it?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
So it's intentionally left shorter than the width
Correct.
of the road. Okay, all right. I believe that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Utilities, please.
In Mr. Base Smith's absence, I will say that the committee did not meet last month, and I know he's trying to schedule a date in April, which has so far been tricky.
Do we have anything on Cincinnati Waterworks?
No.
This, maybe mayor needs to call the mayor?
Possibly, but I don't want to talk to him. No. Anyway, I shouldn't say that. Anyway, did they not tell you that they were going to bring it up in one of the meetings they had scheduled,
Last week.
but would not commit to when they were going to give
Correct.
us any kind of a rate,
That's correct.
which is mind-boggling to me. It doesn't seem like it's that tough.
No.
So, yeah, maybe I could call the mayor.
Yeah, time to elevate.
Yeah, I've never spoken to him directly. That'd be a good, what if he called me back?
I think
Sure
We're
he
just
would.
such a small-time group. Okay. Not a bad idea. All right, nice segue to Mike, treasurer's report.
Everyone should have gotten a copy of the report for March. You know, nothing special. We're on track. I think everyone should be a little concerned about where the stock market is going, because our rates come directly from that. So as CDs plummet, our investment capability will plummet. Now, if they rise, they will rise.
Treasuries went up today.
Interest rates went up the last 2 days.
The rates are going up.
For a couple of
Yeah.
seconds.
No,
There's a story over that.
Is it?
It's not
Okay.
sustainable.
Yeah, you
It's
guys
not
are
Toward the end of the
watching.
day.
You're not watching the same
Yeah, you
thing.
did, you
Okay.
missed it.
Yep. No, typically that will have an effect. So, the flight to quality. Okay, anything else for us?
That's it.
Okay. And then, is there a report from the clerk, fiscal officer?
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay.
It's a nice quiet time right now.
All right, let's keep it that way.
Please.
All right, so let's move on to our ordinances again. Ordinance 2025-19 is an ordinance authorizing amendment of the 2025 appropriations of the village plan and general improvement fund and declaring an emergency. David, can you give us the background?
Certainly, Mayor. Thank you. This ordinance increases the appropriations for the VPGI fund, specifically in the street construction function for the repaving of Albion. The bidding process gave us Barrett Paving Materials Incorporated, who has done work in the village previously, at a contract price of $223,000 and change, and the engineer recommends a contingency of $27,500. So the total appropriation would be $250,600.
Okay. Why the contingency, David?
Unexpected.
Is that a typical thing?
It is. Unexpected situations. Anything over and above the contract price would require a change order that's reviewed by myself and the engineers.
Okay, but anything that the Barrett Paving would say, oh, we didn't anticipate this, that's on them.
We would evaluate it, but yes, anything that is not something that was they prepared for is their responsibility.
All right. So is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
And is there a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
For ordinance 2025-19, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2025-19, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. That ordinance passes. The next ordinance, 2025-20. An ordinance awarding the contract for the Albion Avenue and Osprey Avenue paving project to Barrett Paving Materials Incorporated, lowest and best bidder, as recommended by the village engineer, authorizing the village administrator to enter into a contract with the same and declaring an emergency. David, you may not need to explain much about this. It's a follow-on, but
That's right. As we just appropriated, this would authorize the village to award the contract and authorize me to execute it for Barrett Paving to complete the repaving on Albion and Short Albion and Osprey Lane.
okay. So is there a
Correct.
motion for the ordinance?
So moved.
And second.
Motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have one question for David.
Certainly.
So once the water main gets installed, then they can start paving. Where does the Bethany fit in? That it can't start until after the school year? Is that-
Correct. The water main replacement can't start until after the school year is over, because the school's gonna be shut down. But with the speed that Ford is working and I very much anticipate, unless there's some odd scheduling issue, that everything will be completed before the school year begins in August.
And the paving.
And the paving,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll for that one?
For ordinance 2025-20, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2025-20, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That ordinance passes. Next is ordinance 2025-21. You've noticed this comes in 3 parts. This is an ordinance establishing the appointed position of village fiscal officer in accordance with the provisions of Ohio Revised Code, section 733.262, and abolishing the elected position of village clerk and village treasurer, and declaring an emergency. I could fumble my way through this, but David or Kathy, who wants to take it?
You can take it.
Okay.
So as we've previously discussed, under the Ohio Revised Code 733.262, we have our current kind of structure where we have the elected positions of clerk, treasurer, and there is the option by 2/3 vote of council to abolish those elected positions at the end of those terms and to establish appointed positions for fiscal officer, or otherwise known as finance director, and then the clerk. So what this ordinance would do is provide that those terms end December 31st, 2025, and then we would have subsequent ordinances that were specific to individuals that would appoint a clerk and a finance director for the village, set compensation and all of that. So while this sets up the positions, it doesn't establish individuals or individual compensation. Part of this is a passage of this ordinance that is then transmitted to the Board of Elections 120 days at least ahead of time, and requires, again, a 2/3 vote. And that's just part of the process to wind down that elected position and to pick that up as an appointed. But from my experience in villages generally, it's difficult to get that kind of finance director position that's kind of they have the experience, they live in the village, they want to run for this position, and they want to stay in this position for that full term. So practically speaking, so villages tend to have that as an appointed position. Glendale's been kind of the exception to the rule there. So this would kind of bring you in to kind of the norm in the area.
I think it's important to say again, the skill sets necessary, and especially today, with the way we run our finances and the investment dollars we have available to us, I think it's very important that we maintain some level of financial knowledge within this position. So for that reason, I think it's a good move forward. David also has provided a memorandum on this, a lot of which answered questions council people may have had. Dovetails with what Kathy just told us. I'd like to get a motion first and then see if we have any questions. So is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
And is there a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved.
Oh, wait.
Did we agree?
We said
I think
we're
we should do
declaring,
3
declaring an
reads.
emergency. We may want to do this as a 3 read.
That's
had
what was
3 reads.
discussed.
That was what was
The 3
discussed.
reads is, there's bookends. We got 3 reads to get it moving,
All right.
but we don't have to pass it. You don't want to pass it as an emergency, right?
No, 3 reads.
No.
This is true.
Wait.
This is
Hold
true.
on.
It's a
So what-
3 read. I'm
We
sorry.
have to pass it as an emergency so
Do
that
you
it's
wanna-
effective in time to get it to Hamilton County.
Oh.
Yes.
But the 3 reads, we can continue that 3 read process.
Okay, so we won't
To
actually,
June.
we don't actually need to vote on this tonight in order to make our time, or do we?
When's
We
the
need to
120
declare an
days?
emergency.
Like first week of July, like before our July council meeting,
That's 120 days
Mhm.
ahead of time.
ahead of
Okay.
the election. So
Okay.
3 reads meaning April, May, and June.
Okay,
And then assuming passage in June would give us plenty of time to get it to the county in advance of that July. I think it's the 2nd deadline.
yeah,
So
I'm
we're
sorry,
not,
I was on
we're
my
not
island
waiving
when I saw the
3
language.
reads. We're just
Correct.
gonna have a first read.
But the emergency language is in there so that it's
Yes.
effective
It'll be
on
effective on the
June
3rd read.
6th.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
The readings get it going.
This is the first
The
reading.
emergency
Correct.
Okay.
says
Okay.
at the end of the passage when it's effective.
All right, so we can make our timing, read it 3 times, but we would do the emergency language on the 3rd read, so it's
Yes,
effective
we keep
immediately.
it as drafted, yeah.
Very good.
Got it.
So, questions about this ordinance while we have it before us then? You don't need a motion yet.
Hey, David, do you recall on last Wednesday, did you say 79% of Ohio municipalities
Mhm.
have this?
Oh, Hamilton, I used Hamilton County.
Hamilton County.
But yes, 79%
Okay.
of villages in Hamilton County have an appointed finance director, fiscal officer, similar title,
Okay.
similar responsibilities.
Any, do you know what Ohio happens to be?
I did not pull Ohio.
I was just thinking-
Hamilton County has a handy list of everybody's elected and appointed officials, so I used that for us. But
Okay.
I would imagine, and Kathy can correct me, I would imagine it's pretty much the same condition in other counties.
There are a lot of very smaller communities where there may be an appointed position where somebody maybe has several communities and they work part-time in a number of them as well. It generally, it seems like the priority is knowledge of the UAN and general Ohio auditor practices and everything, so it's tough to have unless you're
Sounds
kind
like a
of
solicitor I
focused
know
on that,
that
yeah.
has several communities.
It's the best way to go.
Thank you.
This would be an appointment by the mayor, confirmed by council.
Yes.
Okay.
And that would be an ordinance that would come before you to establish that individual and the terms of their compensation.
Okay.
Both the clerk and the finance director appoint.
Both, yes.
Okay.
And the clerk becomes just a clerk of council versus being a fiscal officer. They're just a clerk of council that would keep the minutes. And I think I know who we appoint for that already. Like it or not.
Dream on.
Like it or else. Okay. Any other questions or discussion about this?
I do
We have
have-
plenty of time before the basketball
I
game
do have a
comes.
question.
Yes.
End of term, so the clerk term is scheduled to end April 1.
Yes.
In this verbiage, does it end December 31, or does it go through April 1?
It would.
It ends in December.
It would, so
It
we're
would
gonna
cut-
amend that
it
to
would
end in
cut it
December.
short,
We're
yeah.
gonna
Okay.
have to make an interim thing,
Yeah.
or just abandon the remaining 3 months, I guess, and do the appointment.
Yeah, by virtue of this, the passage
You're
of this.
abolishing.
Yes,
Okay.
it will cut that
So
off.
that takes
Okay,
care of
got it.
anybody.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Okay. Well, if anything comes up, we've got next month to consider again. Okay, moving on from that, next is 2025.22, an ordinance prohibiting marijuana cultivation in dispensaries regardless of licensure under Ohio Revised Code, Chapters 3796 and 3780, and declaring an emergency. This came out of Laws Committee, I think? Okay, so David or Joan, either one that wants to give us some background?
I'll defer to David.
So we had talked in laws about
did.
limiting the potential for the development or opening of of dispensaries in the village. And I spoke with Kathy and asked, is what's the most prudent way to do this, essentially? And it makes it effective as quickly as possible to avoid, a potential opportunity for either a cultivator or dispenser, even though it's, I would say, unlikely, but still there's an opportunity there. Kathy's suggestion and what has actually been done in Evendale is, rather than pursue a zoning code amendment, is to actually prohibit them underneath the village's essentially criminal code and the drug possession and drug distribution code, and limits them. The Exhibit A is the section that would be included in that, but it essentially outlines that at no place in the village are these kinds of operations permitted, regardless of state guidelines, regardless of state permissions, and the village does not have to set it aside as a prohibited use underneath our zoning code. So Kathy, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but.
Yeah, the statutes governing the medical and recreational marijuana provide that local governments can just prohibit them outright. So that's why, it's not something that we have to go through the whole zoning code process. The state legislature has said you can just prohibit them outside of zoning.
What other businesses are prohibited in Glendale? I'm just curious.
Well, by nature of the way a zoning code is structured and works, if a use is not listed as a permitted use, it is prohibited. So I can't think of a good example off the top of my head, but for our business district, zoning code includes permitted uses of shops and restaurants and those sorts of things. If it is not explicitly listed in that list of permitted uses and it's not provided for as a conditional use, then it is deemed not permitted under the zoning code.
How is a dispensary worse than the 5 bars that we have in Glendale plus UDF that sells tobacco and alcohol? I mean, what are we worried about with the dispensary? If it has to pass the other zoning laws in Glendale to be in the village, it's just another business. And heaven forbid they try to get an awning, because they'll never get it.
Right now, you would go by the most general definition. So if a dispensary came in and there's nothing specifying dispensary, it would still fall under just a retail establishment. So anywhere where retail is permitted, then a dispensary would be permitted, because it would fall under that. It would be customers coming in and out and everything. So without that being more specifically defined within the code, it's generally permitted.
But, I mean, dispensaries aren't really very exciting. And why do you care if there's a dispensary in the village when we already have ample alcohol distribution in the village, which some would say is worse?
I think in an abundance of caution, laws and claims discuss this, and it's not the kind of business we think, or we had thought, should be in Glendale. And there's plenty of other communities around here who have them, but we decided and, considered all the, whatever, I don't know what I'm trying to say, like, we just considered all the possibilities, what could happen with a marijuana dispensary in the village of Glendale, and we think that this is not the kind of community that should have one.
It seems to me, though, that you're saying only a certain type of person would visit a dispensary, and I would say that's not the case.
I think it's trying to limit the product itself or the activity itself, not necessarily the person. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we think about health and safety, and we think about safety more than anything, and yeah, do I want to advance stereotypes about, individuals who frequent medical marijuana dispensaries? I don't want to do that, but I also don't want a business. I think that the committee decided that we weren't going to have a business in Glendale that could attract, I don't know, like low-level, crime.
You mean like UDF?
Well, does that...
People said the same thing when
Did
we
they?
opened the UDF, that it was going to attract a bad element to the village.
Well,
I think most people thought the UDF just didn't fit within our.
You're saying the same thing about the dispensary.
The people against UDF felt like, well, here comes like a McDonald's or something that's just a chain type of a thing, and we're more boutique style. Those were the complaints I heard about the UDF. So, anyway.
Is there an opportunity to table, to get more feedback or consideration on it, since it's the first time that we're hearing about it?
how many
is
times
written as
did
a
we
first read.
discuss it? We,
A couple
it was
within the
at
last
least,
year. It was
I mean, I think it was like three meetings.
We voted 3-0 and lost to pass it to council, so.
Right.
Well, I
So
think
it's
this
here.
is
Yeah.
declaring an emergency on here.
Well, it's a first read.
A first read.
Yeah.
Okay. So there would be future reads and future opportunities for public feedback on it.
Okay.
So we could just opt to not waive 3 reads, correct?
We
Well,
are.
you
Wait, we're not gonna
were.
we are gonna have 3
You're
reads.
gonna
Yeah.
have 3 reads. So, unless someone wants to move it forward right now, but it sounds like we'll go through our 3 reads. Okay.
There's no, like, time constraint or anything on.
Well, here's how the discussion started. We talked about the possibility of a marijuana dispensary coming into Glendale. And we believed at the time, the first time we discussed it, we thought, we do know that the, I guess, possibility is pretty remote, because it's just not the kind of community, meaning like, has high visibility, like they have like on, I'm trying to think of that one down in Hartwell, down that way, you know, and that's a, you know, easy access, the way most businesses would want to operate, high, you know, easy accessibility, high profile, that kind of thing. And we looked at it and we didn't think that there was any possibility, because you can only have, you know, you can't have it within 500 feet of a school, you can't have it within 500 feet of a, you know,
School, church, library,
Yeah,
park,
right.
public space.
Right,
like
so there were limited buildings, but in order to close the loop, because as the committee discussed, we do not want this business in our community. And so there was a remote possibility that it could, you know, when we did the math and we measured between these other, you know, entities, that's the way it came out. And so we decided to close the loop. And again, we did discuss it at at least three meetings, but maybe it was 3. And that's why we moved it to council.
Okay. I saw some discussion over here. Is there any? No? Okay. All right. So the only thing with 3 reads is this, within that time, if something were established, I guess it would be able to open at that point. So to be able to, if you were concerned about something happening in that short time frame, we want to move it forward.
Mr.
now.
Mayor, could I ask a question? I would actually like to ask the police chief if you have any concerns about that type of business or prior experience.
I don't have any prior experience with it. You know, this just limits dispensaries. I mean, if someone wants to grow their 6 plants, they're gonna grow their 6 plants. And
Correct.
we can't do anything about that. And as far as possession, just the amount that they can possess, we're getting more, all of our marijuana right now comes from underage possessions, because the adults are obviously allowed to have it. But as far as dispensaries, I haven't talked to any other chiefs that have dispensaries in their village or city.
Okay.
I think it's a fairly new concept, and I think it's probably very easy for us to make assumptions one way or another about them. And so, just since I haven't ever had to think about this, or, you know, it's the first we're hearing of it, I think it's worth just doing a little bit of homework and reading up on it and finding out information that would help us.
And I think based on what David said, the only area where you could actually maybe do it that's outside of the 500 feet is pharmacy and a couple of those buildings. there,
Right.
yeah.
Which there's 1 or 2 empty storefronts there. Yeah.
Okay. So first read, and we'll read again next month. Okay, next ordinance, is not an ordinance, it's a resolution. This is Resolution 2025-16, a resolution approving the installation of a plaque commemorating the village gardeners of Glendale to be located in a small planting island within the village square. You've all received, I think, in your packet, the write-up about this. I don't know if we need any further explanation on it. I think it's kind of a nice thing to do.
Did planning have to weigh in on this at all?
I'm sorry?
Did planning have to weigh in on this? The planning commission?
The way our naming policy is written, planning does not.
Yeah.
It's just
And
odd that we,
given the size of it as well, and it's more temporary in nature than permanent, in the sense that it could be picked up and moved. That makes sense. But the village's naming policy does not involve planning in that process.
Okay.
But even something this small, we have to approve?
yes.
The way the policy is written.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And this looks, what they're proposing is fairly typical for this type of a plaque, it seems. It's been used in the past. So, is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved.
Second?
Or I'd say ordinance, resolution. Okay, and is there further discussion about it?
Joan and I are ready to talk about it.
Right.
Come on.
And in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a member of the Village Gardeners of Glendale, as is Becky.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I have to recuse myself.
I don't think
Say
you
a
do.
little bit about it, I'm
Solicitor,
interested.
does she have to recuse herself?
And is there a motion to dispense then with 3 reads?
So did we do that on a resolution?
Yeah.
Okay, gosh.
Second.
That's a lot.
All right. right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll for this?
Sure. For Resolution 2025-16, to dispense with the three reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For Resolution 2025-16, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. That brings us to the end of the meeting. However, David, I don't see financial reports listed here.
Yes, we actually have some catching up to do. We had a month where the timing didn't have it in there, so I neglected to put it on the agenda, but we will have February and March financials. March financials should be coming out later this week. So those will get on the
This week.
April agenda, or the May agenda, rather.
Why is February not ready?
No, February's ready. It's
Ready.
been distributed.
Okay.
It just hasn't shown up on the council agenda.
And we normally get the check registered, but do we not, or the,
It's included in the packet.
it is in the packet?
Yep.
Okay. That-
March financials were reconciled on end of the day on Thursday, so.
That part I didn't see. Okay. Any other business to discuss?
I have a mulligan.
Yeah.
I did contact I talked to the auditor for the CIC. We're gonna do a small audit
Okay.
for 23, 24. And it's, I think he decided that based on how little we have, we'll probably do a electronic exchange of documents.
Okay.
So I still need a document from them saying this is what we're gonna do and how much it's gonna cost. Hopefully, it's not a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Last time was about $1,000, so,
Okay.
and it should take them very little time to do the whole thing, so.
We need to get something we can work on, so this money we're spending is worthwhile. Okay, enough said there. All right, motion to adjourn.
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can you imagine?
No.